desert wind moved like a ghost through the cactus and sagebrush, carrying dust, sorrow, and memories of old wars. Jacob Turner sat alone on his porch, a forgotten man on a forgotten ranch in Arizona, his hat-shaded eyes that had seen too much, battles, graves, and the slow fading of everything he once loved. Years ago, laughter had filled this land, the sound of cattle, his wife humming gospel songs, the crackle of a fire, but fever took her, drought took the cattle, and loneliness took the rest. Jacob lived now with only the creak of an old rocking chair and the whisper of regret. He had once fought in the frontier wars. Soldier told that the Apache were enemies. He never questioned it then. But every night, the faces of those people, especially the children, haunted him. He had tried to drink it away, pray it away, work it away. Nothing worked. Guilt is a stubborn ghost. It never leaves until you face it. The discovery late one evening, while checking his far fences, Jacob saw a cloud of blackbirds circling in the distance. Crows meant death, always had. He spurred his old horse. Dusty, forward through the crimson sunset. What he found made his blood run cold. A young Apache girl, maybe 16, hung from a low tree branch. Her wrists were bound. Her head tilted lifelessly to the side. Around her neck hung a rough wooden sign with burnt letters. "White man don't forgive." Jacob's heart slammed against his ribs. He jumped from his horse, cut the rope, and caught her as she fell. To his shock, she was still breathing, barely. Her skin was torn, her face bruised, her lips cracked with thirst. "Dear God," he whispered. He didn't know who had done this. Angry settlers, drunken cowboys, or men seeking revenge for the past. But he knew one thing. He couldn't let her die. He lifted her onto Dusty's back and rode hard through the dying light. When they reached his cabin, he carried her inside, laid her on his bed, and began the slow work of saving a life. A battle for life. He boiled water, tore his own shirt into bandages, and cleaned the wounds one by one. Through the night he worked, whispering prayers he hadn't said since his wife's death. Sometimes she moaned softly in Apache words he couldn't understand. He wished he could tell her she was safe. But would she ever believe him? By dawn, her pulse grew steadier. When she finally opened her eyes, fear flashed through them like lightning. She tried to crawl away, but pain stopped her. Jacob raised his palms. "It's all right," he said gently. "You're safe here. I ain't gonna hurt you." She just stared, breathing fast, her eyes wild and mistrusting. For days she refused to speak or eat. Jacob never forced her. He left food on the table, kept working the ranch, and waited. Little by little she began to eat a few bites, then more. One morning she whispered a word, her name, Naya. Fragile peace over the following weeks. Silence softened into fragile peace. She watched him repair fences, water the horses, and feed the chickens. One day she limped outside and helped carry a bucket of water. Jacob smiled faintly, the first real smile in years. That evening she asked in broken English, "Why? You help me?" He hesitated. The question cut deep. "Because," he said slowly, "once I didn't help someone like you, and I've been paying for it ever since." Naya didn't answer, but her eyes changed. There was no forgiveness yet, only understanding. And sometimes, that's where healing begins. The night of fire. A week later, just past midnight, Jacob heard horses. He stepped out with his rifle and saw torches flickering in the distance. A group of Apache warriors rode in silence, surrounding the ranch. A tall man dismounted, his face painted red and black. He shouted something in Apache. Naya rushed outside, crying out in her native tongue. Jacob couldn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear. They had come for revenge. To them, he was another white enemy who had stolen one of their own. The leader pointed his spear. "White man, kill our children. White man, burn our homes. Tonight, white man, pay." Jacob felt the weight of all his years and sins pressing down on him. Before he could speak, Naya stepped in front of him, shouting, "No! He saved me! He good!" The warriors murmured among themselves, uncertain. But anger is a fire hard to put out. The leader raised his spear again. Jacob stepped forward, calm. "If someone has to pay," he said quietly, "take me. Don't hurt her. She's seen enough hate for one lifetime." The air fell silent. Naya's breath hitched. "No," she cried. Jacob turned to her with gentle eyes. "I did bad things once," he whispered. "Maybe this is how I make it right." He removed his hat, set it softly on her head, and smiled. "Live free now, girl. Don't ever hang your heart on hate." The test of humanity. The Apache leader studied the old man's face. He saw no fear, only sorrow. After a long pause, he asked in halting English, "You fight war long ago?" Jacob nodded. "Too long ago." The man's expression changed. "Then you carry ghosts." "Same as we do." He looked at Naya. "He saved you?" She nodded. "Yes, he saved my life." The leader lowered his spear. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, he drove the spear into the dust, not as a weapon, but as a sign. One by one, the warriors followed. The torches fell, their flames dying in the wind. No blood was spilled that night, only silence, deep, heavy, cleansing silence. The morning after, when the sun rose, the Apache were gone. Only hoofprints remained in the sand. Jacob sat on the porch, exhausted but alive. Naya brought him coffee and sat beside him. She asked softly, "You think world can forgive?" Jacob looked toward the golden horizon. "Maybe not the whole world," he said, "but maybe people can. One by one." She smiled faintly. "Like you and me," he chuckled. "Yeah, like you and me." From that day, Naya stayed. She helped mend fences, learned to read, and taught Jacob Apache words. The ranch changed. Laughter returned. Music drifted from the porch again, and the ghosts seemed to fade. Jacob had thought he was saving her life, but in truth, she was saving his. Years later, time passed quietly on the lonely ranch. Travelers who rode by spoke of the strange sight, a gray-haired rancher and a young Apache woman working side by side, sharing bread, sharing stories, sharing peace. Some mocked them, others called it a miracle. Years later, when Jacob Turner's heart finally gave out, Naya found him sitting in his rocking chair facing the sunrise, a faint smile still on his face. In his hands, he held a small wooden carving of a dove, and beneath it, a single word scratched with a trembling knife: "Forgiven." She buried him beneath the same tree where he had once found her, but now there was no rope hanging from its branches, only a strip of white cloth tied to flutter in the wind. Carrying a message she wrote herself: "Where hate was once sown, forgiveness now grows." Ending message in the endless silence of the desert. One man's compassion healed more than a wounded girl. It healed the centuries between their peoples. Jacob couldn't erase his past, but he proved something far greater: that no wound is beyond healing, no heart beyond mercy, and no darkness too deep for light to reach. Because sometimes, the bravest thing a man can do is not to fight, but to forgive.